I are in the middle of this holiday. We just got started. We're in Niagara Falls for 2 days, 2 nights. And then coming here today, we went down to the Hall of Fame. And I guess the things I do like down there, I like that old sweater of Wandy McMahon's. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
St. Catharines.
Yes.
I like playing around that little, you got lacrosse sticks. It's interactive.
And what was the first thing we did when I ran into Larry? We walked in there around 1 o'clock. The first person I saw was Larry, and they have a net where you can shoot at, and a couple of lacrosse sticks and some.
Balls.
They're not the Indian rubber balls that we use, but softer ones in there. So the first thing we did was we started firing a ball at each other. So
Yeah, and then Twyla took
like
a
a
shot
bunch
at
of
my
little
head.
kids.
And I like that they got a New Zealand lawn. It's a blow up of a card about this big. And actually on eBay, I'd seen one of them before, and I didn't bid enough. I didn't have the cash at the time. I always should have a cash problem. Cash flow problem.
They also announced today that a lot of people who follow lacrosse know that Gary Gate has signed with Rochester Nighthawks to play in this upcoming season. That he will play a minimum of, what did they say? How many games?
I don't know, but I know that they're playing in the Toronto Rock. Rochester's in there March 21st. And I was wondering when Rochester plays Buffalo. That would be a next game to go see.
I believe he's committed to about over half the games. The only thing that would conflict with his schedule is he does coach the Syracuse women's field lacrosse team. So when they have games on, of course, that would be his first priority.
He turns 42 in January.
A number of people spoke to him, and they mentioned that he's really excited about coming back to the game. It's one of those things there that today, just about all the inductees, all the people who were there, says once lacrosse gets into your blood, it's very hard to get rid of it. As Ron Messer says, lacrosse is a social disease, catch it.
Well, like Bernie here is 65 and he still plays in Masters. And I go nuts sometimes. I might spend 18 hours a day doing lacrosse stats. And like Twyla was talking earlier to me tonight about, there was one time, it must be about 3 months ago, no, maybe longer than that, 4 or 5 months ago, and I went to bed, and I couldn't sleep. I was all wound up, and I thought I found some stats on Jim McMahon. Man, Jim used to play back in the 40s and early 50s, and I got up, checked one of my books, and I thought I found some new stats. I was so wound up, and it's like, then around midnight I phoned Twyla. I says, yeah, Twyla, I found some new stats. I'm all excited. She works night shift down in Texas, and so we talked a bit, and I hung up, and then I went and I looked through another book. I said, yeah, I found some more. I found this playoff stats, and I says, and then by then it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, and so then I found looking through something else. I phoned her back a third time, and by then it might be, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, which would be midnight out in Coquitlam, and I was going to phone Stan Shillington and wake him up and tell him I found these stats on Jim McMahon. And I was so enthusiastic. Could you match Stan's about, I think Stan's 73, and I could see him in bed with it, sleeping with his wife, and getting his phone call. Stan, I found some stats on Jim McMahon, And anyway, I was putting them on the fan for him. I was all wound up. And Tricolor, he emailed me and he said, Womp, settle down. You already got those stats. They're already been updated. Don't get too excited. Don't phone Stan. And so I cooled down and I realized I was wrong and the excitement was over. I like Tommy when he talks about how he gets so wound up about lacrosse. And Tommy must be about 78, I figure. He says every day is like Christmas to him. I like the way he says that, the way opening up new packages. And
every day he says it's like Christmas. Of course, he also said that his wife Elsie says it's more like Halloween.
Oh, I mean,
This is going to be long, and if we have to do some editing, maybe I should just try to formalize this a bit here for
Yeah, this
across
one.
inside the game here, and just ask you some questions here.
Okay.
How you got about getting elected into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame?
Well, this is quite embarrassing, but Tommy Sakamar told me, he says, Larry, why don't you submit your resume, not like your resume, nomination form into the Hall of Fame? I said, oh, I can't do that. That's, it's being kind of, with me being so humble type of a person, that would be hard to, write about myself.
It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it, that humble Larry here?
And then I said, he said, well, you know more about yourself than anybody else. So I said, yeah, okay, yeah. So I had nominated 9 people that was not this year, went by, a year before, I guess. And one old guy did get inducted. What was his name?
When, today?
No, he got nominated last year. So it was the year before last I put these names in. And you got to go into a library for a year. It was an old guy that had played, he started out with Fergus, and then this is back about 1942. And he got nominated, but none of the other people that I put their names in, there was quite a few, I don't even know if I should mention them, but
Well, it's probably better not to mention them right now.
yeah, until they get put in.
But one of the things too is Derek Keenan in the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's been retired. Now, I tell everybody it's 16 years. It's not 16, but it's 10 or 11 years that Derek Keenan has been retired as a player, and that he's not in. And then I'll mention one more that I do get very angry about is Donnie Stinson, having been on 7 straight Minnow Cup teams and not being nominated into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame really bothers me. And there are a few other people that feel the same way as me. I don't want to say their names because that's up to them to, come out of it and say it.
So just as an aside here, that now you've, if I can say this, sorry, Jammer, that Wampers beat you into being inducted into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. And you remember that we played a few years back,
right, Jammer,
in Masters Lacrosse here. You were in the same team as myself, of course, and Wamper, and we really were not up to your caliber here.
Yeah,
and
you held the record of 16 points in a game, in a pro league game, and you said we were brutal.
Yes, brutal with a few adjectives in front of that. Again, this is a family show here.
So, Jammer.
But again, there was a story today about the 2006 field lacrosse that Eddie Como mentioned when the first game was against Japan, and they really wanted to really show how good the Canadian lacrosse team was, and they used a term that George Bush used. They wanted to shock and awe the world how good they were. And in fact, as Eddie Como related the story, that the score at the end of the first half was 6-6 Canada-Japan, and one of the coaches, Eddie came up to one of the coaches, and I think it was Huntley. What was Huntley's name?
Huntley.
Dave Huntley, I think it is.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, are you still in? Do you still believe in this shock and awe?" And he says, "Yes, I'm shocked, and we were awful." But of course, as you know, the rest is history. They did turn that around and won the gold medal.
Getting back to players, tonight Terry Lloyd got inducted. Larry Lloyd has not been inducted, and Larry and I are the same age. Larry's a few days older than me. Larry's there tonight, and he come up to me, he said, he says, us South End guys, because I knew Larry when he was, we were about 11, 12 years old. We used to save cards together and flip them and, bang them off walls and stuff. And he was an excellent lacrosse player. It's surprising that he's not in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Actually, when we were real small kids, I remember him, because he was a lot more husky than Terry, he was a better player than Terry was in those days. And Larry Lloyd, like what gets me is Larry Lloyd's not in the Hall of Fame, and I was just one of these, kids that I couldn't play anything. I had glasses. I'd sit and do the stats and stuff. Sort of the nerdy kid, and I get in the Hall of Fame. And Larry Lloyd's not in there. It just doesn't seem right.
Larry, you were the only one that had somebody special introduce you as an inductee, and that was Twyla. He was the only one of the 10 inductees to do that. Could you tell us how that came about here?
Well,
I know it looked like there was some buttonholing going on at the Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Well, I phoned Tommy a while ago, and Twyla says, "You make sure I get to say that to introduce you." So I phoned Tommy. He says, "No, she can't do it." He says, "We have 9 people that gotta get in the Hall of Fame, and if every one of them had someone introduce them, that'd be 18 people, and it would just last all night." And so I phoned Twyla. I says, "Twyla, Tommy says you can't introduce me." So Twyla, in her Texas way, "Well, we'll see about this." And so Twyla decided she was going to be saying that speech tonight. So she had a little talk with Tommy earlier in the day, and he changed his mind. She said she'd keep it to 3 minutes. Where is your little speech there, baby?
It's on the tape here.
Oh, good.
I have it on another tape in here, but if you have it handy, we can read some excerpts from that. And one of the nice things is because it did put sort of the whole speech out of whack, because it was sort of impromptu here. We wound up doing that ahead of the guest speaker, ahead of the MVP or MP. I can't remember. It was Jim Bradley who spoke on behalf of the government. I can't remember if it was the Ontario government or the federal government. Forgive me. And it just happened spontaneously. I didn't even have the camera ready because I was trying to follow the order that was the Master of Ceremony was following. But it was very surprising as it was done. And actually, this copy here is mine because this is the autograph on it here. So I don't know how you wound up with it.
Oh, Lynn gave us one.
Here it is.
Oh, Twyla found it.
Here it is.
Oh, well, you were gonna say it. This is
Me?
what. So, come on in front of here.
Come on over
So
here.
people can see you from Texas.
Come over here. I'll just stop this for a second and then